Hello and welcome back to the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. As we discussed before, we're at the exciting part of the show, phase 2, the interview stage. We have our first interview set up for you guys today, and I'm excited. I'm very excited, and I'm sure you'll be as well. A tremendous man, a tremendous businessman, entrepreneur, as well as role model. So you're in for a big treat. Before we get started, just want to review a few things. This is the 5th show of the Marc Baxter Show. The first show, we discussed problems, strengths, and weaknesses. And you can log into the marcbaxtershow.com and you can check out all of the Marc Baxter shows. In particular, the first show is separated into 3 sections. Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 3. All right, show 2, I was asked a lot of questions about my personal life. What qualifies me to engage you as an audience and to give you insights on how to live a more productive life? I answered those questions to the best of my ability. I was open and honest when I answered the questions. Show 3, we talked about balancing your life, controlling the controllables. Certain aspects of your life are controllable, certain aren't. But if you can preserve your energy when you're faced with some controllable aspects, you can go full speed and make a tremendous impact on the outcome. All right, in show number 4, just the last show that we aired, we discussed various things. In particular, 10 steps to simplifying and maximizing a system. And we define system as any aspect in your life that you put effort into, that you arrange and consistently implement into your lifestyle. For instance, your morning routine, your travel to work, your family life, your occupational life, so forth and so on. So without further ado, here at the Marc Baxter Show, we are excited to introduce our first guest ever on the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. Ulrick Joseph. Just to caution you before we bring Ulrick on, a few things. 1, we have an important event coming up in November. Voting. We have a presidential election coming up. A lot of people, I understand, you feel like maybe your vote doesn't count, it doesn't have an impact, you don't see the significance of voting. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you can't see the significance for yourself, do it for someone else that you do see making an impact in people's lives and changing the pace of society. All right? Definitely get out and vote. A couple states implemented a new rule, a new law rather, that you need a photo ID. Don't wait until the day before election in November to get your photo ID. Go and get your photo ID now. Be proactive. Get your photo ID now. Be prepared and make your voice be heard. Second thing, Mr. Joseph is going to give you tremendous insights, and he's an example of what success is. So you can follow his lead and actually have a blueprint for success. Although, if you're not right, if you're not in the proper position to receive and adhere to the information that he gives you, it's just a waste of time. So what I want you to do is clear your heart of all negative emotions. You know, the jealousy, the deceit, the envy, you know, the self-torment, the thing you still beat yourself up over that happened 10 years ago, and also self-doubt. You can do anything in life that you want to do, but you have to force these negative emotions out of your life. Prime example, okay, we have Hurricane Swartz. A lot of you have heard of him. He's been a newscaster here in Philadelphia area in Pennsylvania for several years. He just almost had a fatal heart attack. He had a double bypass because they found that his artery connecting to his heart was 99% clogged. They said it was no way he would be able to function properly and continue to operate how he operates with the clogged artery. He almost was in a critical condition. So now he's cool, but the key thing is that his heart wasn't right. And yeah, that was a medical condition, but we're talking from an emotional standpoint. But the bottom line here, you have to have a pure heart in order to receive what we're going to offer. And that's your job. That's your part that you have to do. And here on the Marc Baxter Show, we're going to continue to bring you inspiration. We're going to continue to bring you motivation. We're going to continue to bring people in front of you that are doing major things in today's society and changing the entire pace of the world that we live in. And today, we're starting with Ulrick Joseph. Welcome back to the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. Don't forget to check out the Marc Baxter Show at themarcbaxtershow.com. You can check out all the previous shows as well as today's show. Without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Ulrick Joseph to the stage.
Good afternoon, Mark, and I'd like to say thank you for having me on your show. I'm really proud to be here, and I'm honored that you chose me to be your first interviewee, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate you being here, and it's my pleasure to invite you to be the first interviewee on the Marc Baxter Show. Without any hesitation, let's jump right into it. I told the people a little bit about who you are and what you do, but why don't you fill in the gaps? You know, what actually do you do? What's your career path?
Okay, I'm a mechanical engineer. I went to school at Temple University and learned mechanical engineering, but that's the later part of my career. What I would like to do is share a little bit about me and who I am. I'm a first-generation American. My parents are Haitian. They came over to the United States back in the 40s, and they worked hard enough, and they taught me the importance of hard work by doing what they needed to do to pull themselves out of a very poor country, come to the United States, cannot speak English, and have 3 kids, myself, my brother, and my sister. And they worked hard, and they showed us the value of an education so that we can do what we wanted to do in our lives. So that's really what I am today. I'm really a product of my mom and my dad. And because of their hard work, I was able to achieve my goals.
Okay, good stuff. Appreciate it. I mean, that's tremendous, because a lot of the audience that's looking at this show, you know, a lot of them are struggling and going through trials and tribulations, and oftentimes a lot of our family backgrounds and our upbringings, we use that as excuses and use it as obstacles for us not to pursue our dreams and our goals. So I definitely commend you for moving forward and filling in the gaps and continuing the legacy that your parents started. Now, you said you're a mechanical engineer. I definitely know you're an entrepreneur, so what other ventures are you into?
Approximately 20 years ago, we started an engineering firm called Marc Engineers. And Marc Engineers is an engineering firm that was started by 2 individuals, Mark Washington and Ulrick Joseph, myself. And the name of the firms are really the 2 first names of the individuals. The engineering firm was specifically started to address a need, and that need was a lack of minority engineering firms in the city of Philadelphia. And right now, we consider ourselves one of the premier engineering firms in Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey. And we cater specifically to mechanical systems, and we work for architects. In addition to that, I also own a construction firm called Cord Mechanical. And at Cord Mechanical, what we do there is we install mechanical systems in large buildings. We have been directly responsible for a lot of the construction going on in Philadelphia today. The Convention Center, the new hotel on 41st and Walnut, the new parking garage that's going on across the street from the Convention Center, just a few of the recent projects that we've been involved with in the past 2 to 3 years.
That's super duper. That's really tremendous. I mean, one, that you have had success and you've, you know, continued the legacy of your parents, but also, you know, you've paved the way for so many other people, and that's tremendous. So I commend you for that. And to some of the audience, what's funny is that when they hear, you know, a man of your stature and of your success, they tend to focus on money. You know, but at no time did you mention anything financially. You talk about, you know, the size of the project you've done, you know, what you specialize in. And so basically, to our audience, they have to know that it's more than just money. You know, you have to have a heart and a passion to help others and to make a difference. So that's tremendous. You talked briefly, you know, you talked about your Temple, you know, alumni days and things like that. Give us a little more insights as to some of the other steps. You know, where did you go to high school? You know, did you take up, you know, any trades or anything? What other things prepared you? Were you under the tutelage of any other engineers coming up?
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's a good question, because I have a statement or a show that I do every now and then when I go to high schools when I talk about foundations. And what's very important in everybody's life is a strong base, a strong foundation. To have a good building stand up, you need a good foundation. And what we did was we started elementary school in New York. It was a Catholic elementary school, and the reason I stress Catholic is that because it was a God-fearing education for me. In addition to all the academics, I went through a situation where I realized that having Jesus, having God in my life, or a higher power in my life, was very important. And in addition to that, while I was getting my academic education at the elementary level, I realized the importance of respect, because all that was also brought into it. After my elementary school education, I went to Jamaica High School. And at Jamaica High School, I got involved with athletics. And I became a track runner and a baseball player. And that's important also, because the balance you have to have is to learn how to work with people, learn failure and success. And being part of athletic teams allowed me to do that. And then when I got to Temple University, I ran track at Temple. And there I also had to balance my education with athletics, with failure and success, both in the classroom and on the track. And those things I feel are very important in life. So the standpoint of having failure, because when you fail, what you do when you fail is very important. If you give up, that's one thing, but if you get back up and try again, that's very important. And I learned that in the classroom, and I learned that on the athletic fields. Mentors. I did have many mentors. I did not realize I wanted to be an engineer from when I was 5 or 6 years old. I saw other people doing it, other grown-ups involved in the engineering field. At the time, I didn't know it was engineering, but when I asked what you do, I thought engineers drove trains. You know, and then when they explained to me that engineers use mathematics and science to solve problems, that's the direction I went into. Mark always uses the word success, and what I believe is success is a couple things. Success is not always the ability to have a whole lot of money. To me, success is the ability to practice something that you have a passion for. When I get up in the morning, when I put a suit and tie on, that's my armor. And I look forward to getting up in the morning and going to attack a new project. I look forward to going out and solve problems. So part of being successful is practicing in a trade that you feel a passion for. You're not doing it because somebody is forcing you to do it. You're not doing it because you have to earn money to put food on the table. All those things are important, but if you're earning money doing something that you enjoy, I think that's one aspect of success. The other aspect of success for me is I create opportunities for other people. I really like the fact that I can hire an intern that ordinarily would not be hired in the engineering field, or hire an intern from high school that wants to learn what engineering is all about, but they cannot get in the door. Because I have my own construction firm and my own engineering firm, I'm able to provide opportunities for people who ordinarily would not get access to that. And what I find is when you give access, when you expose people, that gives them the opportunity to reach out. And that's a term I used to use all the time when I was younger, is reaching out. My whole goal in life is I always reached out. Always reach out for the next thing. And when you're able to do that, it really allows you to get satisfaction. So success has a lot of connotations, but to me, success is one, practicing a trade that you have a passion for. Two, allowing you to provide opportunities and reach back for those that want to someday reach you where you've reached in life or even surpassed it. So that's what's important to me.
Hey, that's great. I mean, not to mention you answered about 4 of my questions that I wanted to ask you all in one, but that's what intelligent people that are passionate about what they do, when speaking about it, that's what they do. They expound and they answer various questions that wasn't even presented yet. So, I mean, that's great. I mean, I'm excited just hearing more because I didn't know these things about you, although I did know you prior, but I didn't know a lot of these things. So, you know, we'll continue to move on. We've talked about a lot of positive attributes in your life and things. And you mentioned challenges as you were describing some of the other, you know, things that occurred in your life. But let's talk about some of the obstacles that you've encountered in getting to this point. Talk about some of the pitfalls and obstacles that were in your way.
The biggest obstacle, and when I speak about this in public, I right now identify as an obstacle, but really as an opportunity. In 1979, I was a track athlete, like I said earlier, and I thought of myself as being a pretty good track athlete. And when you're a pretty good track athlete, people treat you certain ways. And for good or for bad, I thought pretty much the world revolved around me because of my athletic prowess. Well, in August of 1979, I had an unfortunate accident where it was a diving accident, and I broke my neck. And I was paralyzed from my neck down for about an hour or two, but I was paralyzed on my right side for about 4 months. And the doctors, this happened in New York, and the doctors told me I would never walk again. Now, from the standpoint of being an athlete, a track athlete, and getting that taken away from you in an instant, that really puts you in a bad way. But for me, I was able to, fortunately, with a lot of help from a lot of people, and there's a word and there's a phrase that it takes a family. Well, in my case, it definitely took a family. I was laying in the hospital bed, paralyzed on one side, and no feeling on the other side, and the doctor saying I wasn't going to walk again. A lot of things had to happen for me to get back and walk again. One is I had to believe, and that's where the faith in God and that Catholic upbringing, I really believed, and I prayed, and my family prayed that I would be able to walk again, and I believed I would do it. Secondly I was in engineering school in Philadelphia, Temple. The teachers at Temple did not give up on me. What they did was they, through my teammates, got all of my books and all my assignments back to the hospital so I could try to keep up with grades so that I didn't have to drop out for that semester. I actually learned how to write lefty. I'm naturally righty, but I learned how to write lefty so I can keep up my assignments. I'm saying all that to say this. While I was in that bed, and when after I came out of that bed, it made me take life into perspective. And through my whole life, from then on, I was able to do everything I do in life, I put in perspective. Because it made me see that when something that you may feel is bad for you personally, there are people in this world that are 10 times worse off than you are. The fact that I couldn't walk, I had to learn to walk again, that made me realize that, you know what, I am really a lucky person. So now today, in my business world and my social interactions with people, everything I do, I put things in perspective. And when you really look at life and through those lenses, you find out that what you feel is a bad situation for you really isn't that bad. Wow. And if you work together and you have people working with you, you can pretty much achieve anything you want to achieve. You got to believe, and you got to allow people to help you, but always think positive. So that was the biggest obstacle I had in my life, was breaking my neck, getting my track career taken away from me, and not saying, why me? As opposed to saying, why me, it was more like, what can I do now? What is my new stick in life? What am I going to be doing next?
Right.
So that was my biggest obstacle. And those obstacles allow me to be doing what I do now from the standpoint of engineering, finishing my studies. It really made me really see that when things look real bad, it's really not that bad.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's a tremendous story of triumph, and you know, I commend you. I mean, you definitely had to stand strong to get through that, and it kind of confirms my theory that I live by. You know, true character on an excellent level is one that can adapt to change and still be effective. And you truly have adapted to tremendous change, adversity, and you definitely are effective. So good work on that.
Thank you, Mark.
And we'll be right back on the Marc Baxter Show. Welcome back to the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. Log on to the marcbaxtershow.com to watch the other episodes that were filmed prior to this. Back to you, Mr. Rico, Mr. Ulrick Joseph. Since we're talking about adversity, tell us, how do you handle everyday stress?
Well, you know, I think that's a good question, because in our business, there's a lot of stress. First thing I do when I handle stress is put it in perspective. A lot of times what happens is I've learned this, and I take a quote from Martin Luther King in everyday life, is somebody can only ride your back if you bend it. So a lot of times what I do is I make sure that when somebody else's lack of planning or lack of strategy doesn't become my crisis. So the only time I feel risk or stress is when somebody shows me something that's life-threatening. So if I don't bend my back, they can't ride it. So that's number one. Number two, I also have a saying, and I tell all my employees and a lot of my managers this, is that we're in the engineering field. We build buildings, we design buildings, and we try to make things better for people. But the one thing we don't do is we do not really design life and death situations. We do not have somebody on that operating table with their heart open up or their chest open up, and if we make a mistake, that they're going to die. So bottom line is this: I put things in perspective. I handle stress by putting things in perspective. And then on the social side, what I do is I exercise. At the end of the day, I like to go out. I used to call it running, but now I say I shuffle, because as my old age, I can't run as fast as I used to. So now I say I shuffle. So at the end of the day, 2-3 days a week, I find that when you exercise, it allows you to relieve some of that stress and allows you just to free up your day from a lot of the things you talked about, or from the standpoint of trying to meet payroll, from the standpoint of trying to meet schedules and things like that, or deadlines. So stress is something you can manage, but the most important thing is you got to put it in perspective.
Amazing. That's really good. You're a highly motivated man, as evidence of all the things that you've accomplished and what's in front of you to accomplish as well. So what's your motivation? Like, starting out as a kid, like, what was your primary motivation?
I think my biggest, and what motivated me the most really, was that I never really wanted to let my father down. Because my father, as a dad, he did a lot for me. He provided for me. There was really never a time that I knew I really wanted for anything. So one of my first motivations was that I wanted to make sure that when I did have kids and have children, that I was able to do for them what my father did for me. So that was my first motivation. Now my motivation is that I want to provide success and access to other people. I mean, my motivation now is I love to have a successful company, but really what makes me happy is when I'm able to provide access for some other person that ordinarily would not have access. So the last motivation I have is also I definitely want to provide for my family also, my wife and my kids. So I have a motivation factor there to make sure that I'm able to provide for them. And then I have my extended family, my employees. I always have a saying, and my partners have a saying, if I do well, they do well. So my motivation is to make sure that we're doing well enough so that everybody can eat. That's pretty much another slogan I use. Everybody's got to eat. And as long as we do well and we run our business responsibly, we could allow everybody else to eat pretty comfortably. And that's a pretty high motivating factor.
Absolutely. Tremendous. Thanks for sharing that. Any superstitions? I know you play your golfer. I mean, you run businesses and you're always in the spotlight. So is every third Thursday the red tie day, or do you wear certain socks on certain engagements, or you carry your golf clubs on certain sides? Like, tell us any superstitions.
Well, in business, I really don't have any superstitions, but in sports, I do. In sports, I used to coach baseball, and one of my superstitions was I would never tie my cleats. I always keep them unloosed, and that was one superstition I had. And when I ran track at Temple, believe it or not, I had another superstition on the relay. I ran on a Mara relay, and I had this one baton. It was a yellow baton, and I would not run a relay race without that yellow baton. Even sometimes we go to Penn Relays, and they have their own special baton. We would try to use that baton. So that's the superstitions I have there. And then for my sons play football, and when he's playing a certain game, if I'm wearing a certain outfit and he wins with that outfit, then every Saturday, that's the outfit I will wear until he loses.
Nice. And again, he mentioned his sons. Congrats to Dom.
Thank you.
Just signed with the Green Bay Packers. So, keep our fingers crossed for him. Another hard worker cut from a tremendous cloth. And we look for big things from Dom in the future.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Okay, for me, a former athlete, a very good athlete to say the least. I don't want to toot my horn, but I mean, it is what it is. It was hard for me at times to stay humble because I was always promoted and put to the forefront because of my athletic ability. So how do you stay humble in the midst of your success and operating the way you do, but still interacting with other people that aren't as successful? How do you stay humble?
That goes back to my story I told you earlier, and the fact that in 1979, when I was a good athlete, and all of a sudden when I broke my neck, I was no longer able to do what I thought was what God put me on this earth to do, is run track. And after that's taken away from you, you realize that nothing's promised. So even today, as an engineer and a business owner, I feel that I'm able to keep my head level-headed and keep my foot on the ground by being humble, but by realizing that all this isn't, I didn't do this by myself. I mean, the fact that I'm sitting here interviewing Marc Baxter, he doesn't really know this, but he's actually helped me be more successful in my business just in the past 5 years since I first met him. So
Thanks.
What I realize is this, is that I'm humble because all of this is not just me. All of this is really a conglomeration of a lot of people helping me. And for me to walk around and not be humble would be a big mistake.
Wow, tremendous. And again, I definitely see your humility in how you talk about putting other people before yourself. And ultimately that promotes you higher than you can ever do it on your own. So that's a great attribute, and I commend you to continue to do that and present that to other people like myself. Okay, moving right along. All right, balance. You talked about balance earlier, and I'm a firm believer in balance. Do you think you would have been able to achieve this level of success, character-wise as well as occupationally, without having a good balance?
No, I don't think so. I think balance is very important in that there's certain things you have to do in life and certain things that you choose to do in life. And when you get in the business world, I could work 24/7, but then my kids would suffer. So what you have to do is you have to learn to balance your time, prioritize your time for what's important. And the one thing I realized is I work hard in my career so I can spend time with my children. So because of that, I'm able to balance what I do in my professional life. I realize that for me to work from 7 in the morning to 9 at night, even though that's something I may have to do because of the workload, doesn't create a situation where I'm spending enough time with my sons. So balance is very important in everything you do in life. Same thing with how I treat my employees. I mean, we have flex time here. So if we have employees that have work and family issues that need to be in at 9 o'clock, we work with them on that, because everything in life has to be balanced. It's not one way or another way. You have to learn how to interpret what's going on and balance the situation in a situation where it's win-win. And that's what we try to do. So balance is very important. If you don't have balance, you'll find yourself spending a whole lot of time and a whole lot of stress on something that you have a passion for.
Tremendous. And one key thing I took from what you said is a win-win. I'm a firm promoter of win-win situations. And later on, I'll talk about some things that I learned from you, and I learned a lot of things from you, but a few key things that I learned in particular, little things that took me a long way in life. Now, the next question, I'm gonna set the stage for you. You know, basically on the Marc Baxter Show, what we try to do is give people different perspectives on how to view their life and how to simplify their life, put it into systems and maximize each system. Understand that there's aspects of your life that you can control and there's aspects of your life that you can't control. So if you waste time without not being balanced, as you just said, focusing on aspects of your life that you can't control, then when you're presented with the aspects that you can control, you don't have a full steam of energy to focus and tackle them because you've wasted that energy on uncontrollables. So that's what we do on the Marc Baxter Show. We try to dissect life and encourage people to live and maximize it. So if I had to ask you, if you had to describe life in one word, and what does it mean to you, Mr. Ulrick Joseph, at this stage in your life, what would that word be? How would you describe it?
In one word?
In one word.
Good.
Hey, there you have it. I have nothing else to say about that. You know, to much is given, much is required, but he handles his requirements, so he deserves what's given. So that's a great answer, and it's well taken. Okay, moving forward. You already talked about success, and you already gave your definition of success to us when you were answering questions earlier. So I won't go into that in depth. But what I do want to know is, what brings you the most joy? Who or what brings you the most joy in life?
That's a tough question. Right now, there's a lot of things that bring me a lot of joy, but I would say the most joy I have is being able to provide for my family. I think that's the biggest joy I have. It's the other aspect of my life that brings me a lot of joy is my sons went to a school called St. Joe's Prep, and they have a phrase, a man for others. And another thing that brings me a lot of joy is when I can do for others. That's really makes me feel good when I can reach out and help somebody. If it's just a kind word, sometimes it's to lend them some money, or sometimes just to spend time and just listen. I really enjoy being able to be a man for others.
Tremendous. And I'm trying to set them up. I'm trying to get you to answer a question and be a little selfish. I'm trying to get you to answer a question and be all about Ulrick Joseph, but I can't do it. Everything that he responds to is about empowering and encouraging other people and helping other people. So that's why you're my first interview on the Marc Baxter Show. Final question of the day. Okay, you got America watching you. All right, and they're hearing all of your accolades and all of your trials and things, and you've handled them and you've done great, and you continue to do great. You inspire others. You're inspiring me right now just by talking to you. What would you tell the audience if you had to give them advice on how to maximize their life and how to achieve their goals? What's some advice you would give them?
I think the biggest advice is don't believe or don't listen when somebody says you can't do something. Make sure that when you have a goal, whatever it is, go 110% after that goal, no matter what anybody says to you. Because you're going to get a lot of naysayers. Everybody's going to say you can't do this or you can't do that because of whatever reason. You need to plow through that. And if you have a goal, something you want to reach in life, go for it.
Amazing, amazing. I just want to commend you. I think you did a tremendous job today.
Thank you.
This just confirms, that we did want you to be the first interview, and this was a great decision. I mean, I think you gave the audience some valuable information that they can build off of. They can watch the show over and over because you gave some good insights. I learned a lot, and I'm sure they'll learn a lot too. Before we close, I just want to give you an opportunity to tell the audience, tell the world how they can contact you if they need some engineering services, some construction services, and whatever else.
First of all, thank you, Mark, for having me. I really appreciate being here. I appreciate sharing with you my life story and some of my business attributes, I would say. But before we talk about how you get in contact with me, I would just like to say that I really appreciate the fact that you thought enough of me to bring me on as your first interviewee. I really appreciate that, and I'm proud to be here. Marc Ulrick Engineers is located at 2204 Walnut Street. We're on the second floor. Phone number is 215-561-3340. If there are any architects out there that need engineering service, feel free to give us a call. But more importantly, I want to reach out to the young people in the audience, the young people that want to get into the math or science fields. If you want to see what we do as engineers, or if you want to spend some time with some recent graduate engineers just to find out what we do and get involved with math and science, or if you need help with math and science homework, give us a call at 215-561-3340 and ask for Rico. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the Marc Baxter Show, where empowerment is unlimited. Again, we want to thank our special invited guest, Mr. Ulrick Joseph. He did a tremendous job. And in closing, I just want to thank you guys for being a valuable audience. You know, you've been riding with me from day one, and we want you to continue to stay with us as we grow and as we empower you guys to do better and live a more productive life. Just want to emphasize a few things. Mr. Ulrick talked about a lot of things in his life, but one thing, he demonstrated good character. He demonstrates good character. And as you know, character is how you view yourself and how you're viewed by others. One thing that I didn't tell Mr. Ulrick is that anytime I'm ever in his presence and someone else comes around that knows him, they break their neck to tell me positive attributes about him without him even knowing. The greatest form of flattery is when you're praised by someone else. That's constantly happening with Mr. Ulrick. Okay, conduct, how you behave, what's your conduct of behavior? His is very streamlined. You notice all the questions that he answered didn't reflect on his personal gain or his needs. He always answered in benefiting someone else or in support of someone else. That's a tremendous attribute. Empathy, he has a lot of that, and it showed through his conduct. And finally, commitment. You can't be successful without good commitment. He's committed to having a good balance. He's committed to resolving conflict without, as he said, bending his back. No one can ride your back if you never bend it. That really stood out to me. So understand that you need good balance in your life, and understand that you have to put stress and problems in proper perspective. And I talk about that in some of the previous shows as well. Just want to let you know it's an exciting time. The next guest on the Marc Baxter Show will be Dr. Keith Leopard. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him, but you're in for a tremendous treat. I just want to tell you, stay blessed, be encouraged, be all that you can be. Clean all of the negative emotions out of your heart so you don't have anything blocking your blessings. Thanks for being a part of the Marc Baxter Show. Don't forget to log on to the marcbaxtershow.com to check out all of the shows. Just go.